be just fine. We'll have a zone shift relatively soon. And it is going to be center up a little bit. Alpha 7 still feeling pretty good. Fireflex dead center. Vision okay. Yangon Galacticus and Regnum Karya starting to get relatively close. So once IG, Power, right, AXTMG, and especially Falcons way down towards the south start to come up, Falcons especially are going to have their hands full with the arena and Alpha 7.
We've got a couple of teams on the linchpin positions here. Power, they're going to have to make a decision as to where to move. So that southwest side, the dynamics of it are really going to change depending on if they go north, if they go in towards the center, if they try and head east and fight E-Arena. We've also got that position on the southeast, and Gamax behind Alpha 7 could change things up. There's also that wild card of the Falcons. Everybody else has fairly linear approaches. It can get a little bit predictable, but those are the places where I think things could really change depending on how they want to approach this one.
GamX, Alpha 7 starting to inch closer and closer to each other. Brinko is way off in the distance. I don't know why he's currently there. He needs to get up there and join his roster if they want any attempt at attacking Alpha 7. But for the meantime, they're just going to continue to be very aware. Rage, though, as well as AXTMG are starting to get very close. And here comes that Regnum Karya IG rotation. IG going straight past Regnum Karya. The question is, where do they stop? Well, Toshpik says enough is enough. I'm ready to fight.
Vision not quite having sightlines over towards Regnum Karya. Keeps them safe for the moment. An intense game, actually sending out further towards the north, trying to get an angle onto Regnum Karya's rotate in, but they're not going to quite find it there. They're keeping it on lock and key. But there's the first knock, and Rafa lands the spray down onto Wild. Are they going to commit to go for this res? It looks like they want to, but the nades are going to follow it up. That's going to do a lot of damage. Not quite finding the flush just yet.
Knowing intense game, they want to push this. You notice Silence starting to push forward. He's going to take an advanced spot. Silence, though, caught off guard to the left, takes a bit of damage, and now you've got to back up and join your roster. Well, no, maybe push forward. Silence wants to continue. They know they have an early knock. They have the man advantage. Question is, can they continue to take apart Regnum Karya? And the answer is yes. Silas, a power player in his own right, also down. Regnum Karya down to 2.
And there is a res coming on through. Toshpik next to fall down to the floor there, and Regnum Karya all of a sudden relying on Loxy, but he has got the beans. Let's see if he can jump into the fight. Silence now, going low behind the car, will have to hide, go for the heal. Loxy off full XP, but he threads the needle, and the shot is good. A 1v2, Yangon Galacticos could potentially move into third party, but they've backed off. He's still going. Loxy has more legs in this.
Yeah, Loxy definitely can pull this off if he's careful. Petrino, though, snake in the grass through the smoke. I think he's going to be the linchpin. Loxy takes damage. Forced to retreat, and that's going to be, I believe, Saycloud, if I'm not mistaken, just from behind, taking him out with the third party.
A big flex out into the blue zone there from Yangon Galacticos. He read that he couldn't get a sightline from where he was. He moved out into the blue. It's stage 4. You can survive for long enough, and he took down Regnum Karya. They end their match with only 2 points from that northern side.
But the good thing is, for intense game coming from the Americas region, they got all 4 alive, and they're getting their health back, and now they can challenge Yangon Galacticos. This game could be a stellar one and a great start for Intense Game to make a miracle run for top 8. The Brazilian team's underperforming. That's what the desk said, and I fully agree, even from the Americas region, right? I'm super passionate about them. But for Intense Game, this is a great start. Silence once again trying to be that aggressor. This time, he gets fully punished.
Taken down and flushed very, very quickly there. Nades now pouring in. Intense Game wants some retribution, but Yangon Galacticos won't go down quietly. They left from Paradise Resort. They sliced through Kinatrope. I know their walkout looked like they had the samurai swords, but they've been turned on their owners there, drawn and thrust back to the gut from Yangon Galacticos, and they are playing well from this northern edge.
Intense Game knew they needed to continue to push forward. They're so close to the edge of zone. You can see it here, right? So one thing that I really appreciated for Yangon Galacticos' perspective is they backed away and forced IG to push into him.
Oh, a big nade coming through on the southeast side. Alpha 7, they're starting to fumble on the southeast edge. Finally an answer over towards Yangon over towards Gamax, sorry, but that's Alpha 7 out. 7 said it on the desk. They need to kick off with a win. They've just been denied that. Neptura said it on the desk. So do the other Brazilian teams, and that's the same story for Intense Game on the north.
Alpha 7, I'm ringing the alarm bells. Starting now, game 1. They are already out. They get away with 1 point. They were already outside of top 8. Alpha 7 struggles continue, and the fact that Gamax, who's been on the struggle bus, takes them out. A full team wipe. Everybody stays alive. I'm really worried for our A7 boys.
Are Alpha 7 bad?
Hold on, slow down. I don't think they're bad whatsoever, but something is just not clicking, and I sincerely don't know what it is.
Well, Power seem to have found it, and they are going to mount up for an approach towards AXTMG's players who are starting to flag. I think it's just Devotee left. There's nades pouring in on his rock, and it looks like they know exactly where he is. A slow approach from Power onto this circle. I said that they could be the wild card here on the southwestern side, but they have played it sensibly. They've lost one player in this fight, but they have managed to rack up a point. They're looking to clear out slowly and methodically. E-Arena, I'm worried about what they could do to this one, though. You can see them start to poke their noses in from the east edge. You've also got Influence Rage, who have gone 2-2 on the western side.
Yeah, Influence Rage is going to be me. I think that's going to be the team to try and maybe third party this truly from Team Power's perspective. But you do mention E-Arena, and Joker is relatively close, so he can push up. So worst case scenario for Power, they get pintered between E-Arena as well as Influence Rage. Not a good spot to be in. An Influence Rage and both E-Arena do get active, firing in on Power Esports.
Well, through the midst of all of that action that's just unfolded before us, the north side fights, the south side wiping of Alpha 7 to ostensibly the worst team in the tournament, there is going to also be that Falcons rotation, right? We were looking at that Falcons position on that south side. They have gone for a little bit of a miracle dash. It's something that we've seen them do before, right into the middle of the circle. They're now holding two really important buildings. Shacks, fair enough, but important buildings in this next zone. They have cover, they can play to the south side to hold it, and everybody else who could crash onto their locations right now, they're being held out by one another. Once those fights conclude, Falcons are going to be a little bit more under pressure. As soon as Gamax are free to go, the south two for Falcons are in danger. Aura, once they disengage from R8's last players, they could be in danger as well from that direction on the northeast.
Ying on Galactica sit at a current 6 eliminations and more potentially to come as they focus their attention on Division. But Volt hits a nasty shot from a distance in conjunction with Marcelo. Volt will continue to reposition, maybe challenging that of Romeo. Route, by the way, for Falcons looking to get revenge onto Gamex for taking on Alpha 7. Romeo continuing to hit some nasty shots. Vision putting up a wonderful fight. This could go any which way. For Ying on Galacticus, well, only one more player remains. Hora is starting to also get in onto the Vision fight. Noah, very weak. Marcelo should very weak himself, but manages to stay alive, believe it or not.
Yango Galacticos chiming in. Romeo's still alive and still giving it large. One player down on the backlines for Vision now. Just one player remaining left standing for them. Noah desperately trying to get the res, but he has to face the fight first. And Sky, Jiggle, both pouring damage down over this hillside. Sleepy's there with a backup in the ghillie suit, and it will go undetected by them. Over on the north side, Vision are wiped away, and Aura will continue for that fight on the northern edge, but the Falcons continue to take shots across every which way.
Yeah, that's right. And even when Hora ends up winning this, they need to move forward, and you got Falcons who's ready to gun you down. Gamex as well, and I'm loving where Fireflux is currently at, pretty much having the only hardcover POIs outside of Narvalo and Ralph and Redox, who's going to be from Falcons, relatively split. Gamex has been on a terror. 4 eliminations, I know that doesn't seem like much, but for a Gamex roster who has yet to show themselves, not only do they take down Alpha 7, but they're also challenging the top dogs of Falcons, who are currently up top. But this fight, this push up the hill, it's almost impossible.
It is very, very difficult when you're dealing with players that are sat up in that watchtower. You need to plant those nades in. You need to be accurate and deadly with them. But Ralph seems to know where he's fighting against. So do they. They bobble a nade over, but don't find the knock. They need some backup here. It is just Ralph on this position. Narvalo is off in the distance. They're playing split right now. And Arthur puts another stone up. Over the top, doesn't fully connect. In the meantime, Narvalo's soloing Aura on that northeast side. And actually, Aura could change the tune of this one.
Yes,
they could roll straight into Gamax instead of uphill towards Ralph.
They absolutely could, and if they take down Gamex, surely they're going to take down the 2 from Team Falcons. Ralph repositions. E-Arena could also fire some shots on his back end. He needs to be very aware of his surroundings and who is currently at play. Ora, nade onto Arthur, going to be a bit short. They've got to continue to push up. For Falcons, though, continually getting picked apart. Joker takes down another from the Falcons roster, leaving them as a duo. Hora starting to tighten the vice grip, getting closer and closer to Gamix. Gamix needs to be ready for the attack.
Arthur first to face with the shotgun, but from a distance it's Arena, forcing him closer on the rock. Doesn't have time to heal before No Fear puts the nade in, and that could be terminal for them. A last player to stand, a damage lick sent back towards him, but there is just no way that he's going to be able to pick this one up. Unfortunately, the first aid actually coming through. Aura, okay, they're slowing down. That cut across from Arena doing a lot of work as the Falcons get taken down in the meantime.
I don't mind the slowdown. Only one more player to remember from Gamix, and I do hope they do remember. We have seen solos wreak havoc on rosters who are even 4 stacks. We witnessed it yesterday with Catch. We can witness it once again here. Arena starting to take down Influence Rage. The solo from Gamix getting active onto Hora. Jiggle's going to be down. Luckily, they recover. They take him out. The question is, will Hora have to fight at it with 3? Yes, they will. A full elimination law. He'll go ahead and die to the blue zone. We're down to our top 3 at the moment, and a great start for Fireflux, who started the day in first place, looking to take game 1, but Sleepy has other plans.
He wants to go a little bit further on this one, just about darts out of the blue in time to prevent himself from getting knocked. Fireflux back up now. They will be getting to 3, so it is 3 players alive on all of our remaining squads. The circle shifting away from Fireflux, though, makes this really tough. Arena sit dominantly on the high ground as well. You can see what a lovely angle Mormon has. So does No Fear over towards Fireflux, and it is really trading off that aggro. Aura, they do lose one to a knock, and Arena should have this on lockdown as 2 players now sit right on the back to the blue for Aura.
Arena could jump all the way up into top 5. Massive gain for them, but Arena has also been on fire. They've been playing very well, with them having 3 players and the high ground. Hora has no choice but to use the natural terrain, a.k.a. the rocks, and just kind of bunny hop between them. Mormon, who's been the linchpin for this roster, he has been so very impressive, not only in group stages, but also the survival side of things. Sakura taking some damage. Mormon starting to push up, but no drama here. Arena takes game number 1 in scintillating, sensational fashion, and that should jump them up into top 5.
Big news here on this match. Alpha 7 again go down early, intense game. Not a great performance from them. Influence Rage still in 10th place as well. The Brazilian teams are faltering, they are fumbling, and it may be the twilight of the region here at the PEMWC. They need to stand up tall because teams like Arena, teams like Fireflux, teams like the Falcons and Regnum Kaya will take them on any day of the week. You cannot let off the pace because this is what happens.
That's it. Big hits to some top dogs, but for others starting to shine true. Top 8's getting competitive without question. It's still easy to break in. I say easy with an asterisk. Of course, I'm only talking in terms of the amount of points needed to break into top 8 for some of the rosters down below the threshold. But they start to get serious. That's 1 game done and only 5 more games remain. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, game 2, we're heading into Arrogel. Coming your way.
Cybertron's future is near. Autobots, roll out! This planet reeks of weakness. Your courage reignites my spark. We'll crowd a new load of Cybertron. Roll for freedom. A victory for all sentient beings.
I went ahead and called up with none other than the coach from Power Esports, Hexy. Thank you so much for joining me. I got to ask you though, coming into the survival stage, having finished second place in many of the MENA tournaments, is there now an added pressure to surpass the Falcons here at PMWC?
We don't have any pressure. We just try to be as much good as we can. Our point is not getting first, second place. We just play our games and try to be as much consistent as we can.
Do you feel like the Falcons are coming into this event looking pretty strong?
Yes, they are a good team. We respect them, but we will try our best, to surpass every team. We don't have a specific team to watch. So we just play our games.
And talking a little bit more about yesterday's matches here at the survival stage, you walked away with one chicken dinner, which congratulations on that front. However, two of those matches, you were the first team that was eliminated. What do you really think went wrong there?
One of the games that were because of hot drop, which depends on 50-50. Either you win, either you lose. And the lack of data that we didn't expect them to on our spot. So they landed and we had a fight, then we got a fair party. So it was a tough game, but we tried to fix that and we already fixed it.
You already fixed it. Does that mean heading into the final day of survival stage, you're pretty confident you have a little bit more reliable data to work off of?
Yeah, every day we play, we get more data about teams and where they go, how the style they play.
Yeah.
So our style should be and will be the same. So we just try to avoid on the first game fights. Then we will try to play our game depending on the timings and the data the players will get.
Well, I want to end off this interview by asking you to give a message to the rest of the teams that you'll be facing here at the final day of survival stage.
We are Power Esports and we don't fear anyone. We will try our best to beat every single team.
Nice. Thank you so much for joining me and good luck.
You're welcome.
A Sandhog game, not ending on the Northwest Island. It's Christmas. We've got ourselves a brilliant game coming out from E-Arena, who were able to control the cliff sides, able to dominate the rest of the competition here in the jungle. Welcome back. I'm breaking down this game alongside Neptura, as well as Maxman here. And we have got good old E-Arena with a brilliant little win here, Maxman.
Oh, yeah, good old SEA chicken dinner. We love to see it. No, it was a very solid game from them. They were playing a very good compound on the road trifecta next to bootcamp the entirety of the game. It kept shifting away, and they played it very safe, playing on the lower side of the cliff, trying to avoid all of these big early fights, all the early altercations. And because of that, a lot of the teams were wounded, and that's how they can sneak their way into the circle to get the win, especially thanks to Mormon's angle.
Yes, Max. No, I'm doing that as a meme. I'm doing it as a meme. No, I did like how they played that. They were able to really effectively use the back of the zone to actually use that and to make sure that nobody else was going to come in. Use that kind of as a wall to just push forward and forward and forward, and it worked out really brilliantly for them. However, they're not going to be at the top of that ranking in terms of points. It's going to be Hora, who did step up in the end game, just trying to third party as much as possible, and look where it's gotten them.
Hurrah! No, but very excited about that game.
No.
Oh no, we're doing it again. No, actually, they were on a big sweeping motion onto the eastern side, just clearing all the teams. They got rid of R8. They had a really good compound control. Very strong third party, specifically onto the side of GMX. They were fighting another squad over there. I think it was Falcons. And actually just able to take full control of the east. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get the chicken dinner, but it was enough to be the top team in terms of points overall. So Hora really starting to play a lot more aggressive, which normally in CSA they're quite a bit more passive, but here they've really woken up and know that if they want to make it in the top 8, they need to get elimination points on board.
Definitely come alive in the survival stage, right? I mean, there were moments in the group stage that I don't think we should really discredit too much here, but for survival, looking brilliant here, Neptura, and considering the position that they were coming in from, considering everything, all the components of this game, I think it lined up really nicely.
It did land really nicely, and I think it's been really interesting to see how they adapt to the more global lobby, because you're right, we've seen something kind of very different from them in CSA, but to come into global and not so much control with that more passive just zone control that we're so used to seeing, it is actually controlling with those third parties, which isn't full aggression. It's not a full confrontation 4v4 fight. So it is tweaking it, but it is just making sure that they are more aggressive, able to get more points, and actually reading the lobby really well.
Especially in CSA, I kept describing them as a very good defensive team. We take a strong position, we defend until the very end. It's nice to see them be an aggressive team looking for breaches and third parties and then being successful while doing so. And I think that gives me really good hype around them as to how they could play going into the finals, of course, if they qualify, but they're looking pretty good. So I think the top 8 is in the cards for them.
We have our eye on them. And another team that we have our eye on, of course, is Falcons coming into today, who actually got dispatched of relatively quickly by good old GMX down towards the bottom of the tables here, Max, who are fighting back. Let's take a look at these one of these moments here and see kind of how things went down.
GMX taking heads. Okay, they take down Alpha 7 and Falcons, 2 favorites. So we had at the very start, like, they're going to make it top 8 pretty easily. But no, GMX are here. And actually, the first fight they took was against none other than Alpha 7. Alpha 7, by the way, did not have a bad game here because actually you had a really good rotate. They go from their 2-2 split, regroup on this compound, but GMX, they find one knock, maybe an angle of Alpha 7 was just not fully covered. And I tell you, the speed at which they committed was mind-boggling. They fully sent on the compound, all 4 players overwhelm Alpha 7 in the matter of 10 to 15 seconds, and the squad wipe is instantaneous. GMX, if they want to do a comeback here to make it in the top 8 against teams like Alpha 7, they got to keep this going the entire day, and maybe top 8 could be possible for them.
Another team I want to focus on, of course, here is Fireflux. They've done amazingly here in the survival stage, but just slipping a little bit here in the final moments, Neptura.
Yeah, I think we thought they were going to win. You were like, yeah, they're Fireflux, they're going to win. But I think at that point, at the point that when they tried to actually do something, it was too late because they had the low ground and that particular ridgeline or hillside was so open. Hora had eyes on them, E-Arena had eyes on them. It would have been much better if they had maybe one zone before, at least just like 30 seconds before, right before the zone closes. Use that space that's technically outside a zone to wrap around outside and come in behind E-Arena. I think that would have had a much better chance for them to win longevity-wise because E-Arena were just able to use that ridge so effectively. That could have been Fireflux to have been a bit more proactive.
I think there's a big issue when you stay in a compound on the edge for a little bit too long as you become very predictable. Teams knew that they were going to be exiting from that main building onto the southern eastern edge, so they're just like, we hold angles against that, Fireflux, you're not going to exit that compound whatsoever. So Fireflux, again, a team that we know can be very strong, but here a little bit too slow and a bit too passive. I think if they were more punishing, maybe as you said, Niptra, maybe 30 seconds earlier, maybe they just control the entire circle and take home that chicken dinner.
I think that's a good breakdown, guys, because obviously they're looking great at the top, but they could be smashing even more here in the survival stage and really making a statement. Well, as you can see, we are getting ready for Erangel. Make sure to check out the map feed as well, which is live over. You can now head over to the casters for the grassy pastures. Erangel on the cards.
Thank you very much. I am Taylor Reflections Noble, ready for this game here to get started. It is going to be a scintillating sensation of a game, and I am pumped.
Wow, John, that was phenomenal reflections. Yeah, you sound great. You sound proper Texan, I would have to say. By the way, You're in the same room as me. You start picking on me a little bit too much. I am bigger than you. I want you to throw you out.
Yeah, but I've got my name on my socks.
What? What kind of comeback? Yo, I'm going to take you out. Oh, don't worry. I got my name on my socks.
Yeah, they're going to be able to tell which bits of me
there you go.
left.
That's what I'm thinking once I remove you from this room, man.
Hey, look, we're gonna put our differences aside
We
for now.
love each other.
Because we have a communal hatred for Alpha 7. They're doing really poorly right now. Yeah, everybody in this room hates Alpha 7 right now. They are so bad at video games.
No, Alpha 7 are okay. Look, the thing about Alpha 7 is they can come back. They really can. But I can't dispute it. Like, they are on the struggle bus. Things are not going okay for them. And I am sincerely starting to get worried. Now, we did notice yesterday Alpha 7 did land Lipoka for the first time in PMWC. That's normally their go-to spot for the Americas region. Of course, here for PMWC, they've been going up towards Georgia Pole. That's been their location. So I wonder if now they're maybe starting to go back to their default spots that put them at PMWC to begin with. With the way Squash and all the co from Alpha 7, I believe they are in fact going to be going to their OG landing spot. So now we're going back to what worked during Americas, what has worked in seasons previously. I like this because Alpha 7 are in trouble. They've been trying new things. Now it's time to go back to what has worked, your bread and butter.
I mean, this could also be an artifact of the plane path as well, right? This plane path, very eastern leaning from Stalba down to the middle of Sosnovka military base. It feels like a backup drop for Alpha 7. I wouldn't be too surprised over the next 2 matches to see them go back over there.
Oh my gosh.
This is a pretty nasty circle. Okay, let's kick things off with an eastern plane path and a hard southwest circle.
Wow.
This is also nasty because it's on the late end of the plane path. There's a hot drop on a vehicle there. I think that's in Intense Game, who have just lost a player. I believe they've gone down to Ora, if I'm not mistaken, over by Yasnaya on a vehicle hot drop there. Our only casualty so far. Maybe a little bit more as well. As Power drop one out, Evo T tries to give him the runaround. He says, I'm going to dodge this vehicle. They can't get through the rock. He's like, yeah, but I've got a gun, mate.
He's got a gun, and the gun wins over the night. Power, one of the top slaying teams when it comes to Arigel, at least historically here for our survival stage, elimination-wise, averaging, 7 or a little over 7. They start off with an elim early on. Good for them. Everybody's going to quickly try and rotate over. There's so much water in the current stage 1 that you have to get some real estate as much as you can on mainland. And I love that Falcons Kinotrope are taking early priority. Let's not forget Kinotrope, a team that is looking to work their way up in the top 8. Fully eliminated early on in the initial fight against Yangon Galacticus on Sandhawk Map 1. So they are desperately needing a solid game 2 and onwards. But for Falcons, if they can get center zone, maybe even get on that shoreline, they could have a wonderful game here.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it is a pretty dramatic circle as in terms of landmass, but what it doesn't do is necessarily put a massive hurry up, because it's on the mainland. These rotational paths will be known, and generally teams will be comfortable getting into this area of the map, right? It's not too different from if it was just a little bit further north and it didn't have as much water on the south edge. The difficulty will start to come on through in towards stage 2, stage 3, after these first rotational plays have been made and moving on through that way. With 2 players going down so far on a hard east plane path, not necessarily unexpected, but the thing I'm looking at right now is Otta and Influence Rage and Yasnaya Polyana.
Yeah, they're very, very close to each other. That fight most likely going down. Again, an important one to say the least. For Otta, they are towards the top end of the standings. They naturally want to continue to separate themselves, not only for the money, but also for a guaranteed spot in the finals on our next stage. But for Influence Rage's perspective, I mean, truly at the moment, the crown jewel for Brazil, the crown jewel for the Americas region to break into top 8 and represent Americas in the finals. If it's not for Influence Rage, it's not going to be an intense game. They're a little bit too far down. Alpha 7, so many question marks on them. So Influence Rage winning a fight against Otta here could be massive and bumping them up the standings.
The question is, do either team want to engage?
Not at all.
Right? It looks like they dropped close and looted away from one another. And in general, I would imagine that that is what is on their minds right now. Meanwhile, over on the rest of the map, it's Regnum Kaya crossing the Gatka fields. Falcons, they've sent a scout out ahead, but Regnum Kaya could potentially pinch that away and cut off that supply line behind them. It looks like Falcons are on a 2-2 right now, I think. It could be a 3-1, I'm not entirely sure on our map feed, but either way, Regnum Kaya seem to be descending on that forward position for the Falcons, and that could be nasty, depending on how fast the Falcons can regroup.
Yep.
They are about 500 meters out for getting fully on the regroup, but Ralph goes down, and Regnum Kaya wastes no time.
That's right, Regnum Kaya is starting to get active. I believe it was a 2-2 split. It was Koa with Redux who were on the advanced position, and well, now he's got Narvalo and Co starting to move through, and Wild is most likely going to be shot at relatively soon, you would have to think. From Falcons' perspective, losing one hurts, though. They were not wanting that, but that's kind of reminiscent of what they've been doing. Falcons love sending a scout player up ahead. Sometimes it burns them, sometimes it works out well.
How have AXTMG made their way along this coastline? They've rotated through now 3 teams, and it seems like people are just like, yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. You guys can just keep going. It's all chill. They dropped around Milta, sort of around that sort of area. They've gone through Nongshim, they've gone through Kenotrope, now they've gone past Vision, and it seems
rotate down, and they're choosing to take the northern side, which is also quite congested with the arena, R8, Influence Rage, Aura, who are all moving in order. Luckily for them, are the tip of the spear. They're going to be the first team to get inside of the zone, which gives them the flexibility not only for locations, but also potentially gatekeep if they so desire.
this is a really ridiculous number of teams actually going for this north side rotate, right? I mean, you know the plane path was deep on that eastern side, sure, but the fact that there's so few teams coming through from Mansion, past School, past Pachinko, is going to change things up. I wonder if anyone's going to draw short and try and camp one of those bridges on the way on 27. 8th place with Yangon Galacticos right now is 43. We're expecting it to be pushing up towards 70 at the end of the day. And we'll see how they are able to try and clamber their way on through, but that hope is dwindling fast. A hard west shift here isn't super dramatic. Again, it does cut out those Pachinki fields, but I feel like a lot of teams are going to be more pleased about that than if it had been further east on this circle. That west side coast now is going to start to get a little bit more packed. The area around Quarry can be very treacherous as well.
Yeah, Alpha 7 start to move straight into the center. Well, relatively close anyways, just opposite of Aura. Aura is going to be right there neck and neck, and Alpha 7 don't want to pop. Well, they do. I thought they weren't going to pop out and fire some shots, but they want distance. They want Aura to keep on moving. And for Alpha 7, yeah, the shoreline would be great, but I think they're going to be happy with the real estate they currently have, and especially now, hardcover POI setting up. They will set up their fortress and try and gatekeep anybody else who starts to move in, aka E-Arena, who have now made their way into the zone out of blue. You still got some stragglers, Yangon Galacticus, Power, Gamex, who have been very slow on the rotate, now finally starting to come in. Regnum Kaya setting up in the Wizard Tower. You got some great spots locked in. Question is, when the next future zones come, who's going to be benefited? And Alpha 7, no, Mafioso's down the arena challenging.
They've just immediately taken down Mafioso, who got way too bold on the angle. Azo just had no chance of having from the rest of his roster. On the far side of the hill, I mean, I'm slamming a massive question mark on that one.
Yeah, that's tough. What is going on? Alpha 7, they had such a good spot. Hardcover POI, like they looked great. Why not just stay there? Why scout? It's not necessary, and now you lose a player. You got to go at it with just 3. That hurts me. It really does. Benny laying low. Scarface up ahead. Benny, a talented player in his own right. A guy that wants to truly cement his name in PUBG Mobile history. Had a chance to speak with him, and I love his tenacity. I love his desire to want to be one of the best out there. Noxian Red Force potentially gatekeeping Power and Gamex as they start to move in.
Fireflux, who are now on 73. Our first team to have crossed that expected threshold, right? They are now over the 70 points that we're expecting them to need to be able to get on towards those finals directly at the end of the day. So from here on out, it is just a question of solidification. If you could jump up over 80, 8's looking pretty much guaranteed to be in, right? So if they can earn 7 points this match, beautiful stuff. Turkey will be very, very happy. Even if Regnum Kaya don't make it, they will still have their representatives in those finals.
Well, historically, Fireflux have averaged at least 4 eliminations when it comes to Erangel, so that'll put them even closer to that 80-point mark, which definitely would be safe. And with the other team struggling as much as they have been, even towards like Yangon Galacticus at 43, I still feel 73 is most likely going to be safe, but you'd rather be safe than sorry. Take a look at the map once again. Another zone shift towards the south. That's going to force Alpha 7 out of their hard cover. E-Arena hot on their heels, most likely trying to hunt down the remaining A7 members. All-Rate also going in. Influence Rage, Regnum Karia. My goodness, the team's up there, John. Incredible.
I'm looking around that quarry area as well. Kinotrope control a lot of the ground on the southwest side. If they can keep that outpost alive, it could be great, but it's a question of doing that, of getting that one done. Alpha 7 now with more danger on their doorstep. E-Arena continue to try and push on through. They want to find a shot if they can make it over towards Revo, who's taking some peeks. Carrillo repositioning on the buggy. And Squash as well, potentially in with a scrap. R8 moving in on the north side as Influence Rage are going to go parallel towards them. Law hops out. He spots the player on the back of the buggy. He's so slow that he can't connect the spray. Law drops the ball in a massive way. And it is ID7 getting real happy with it there for R8 to stay alive. A slow, lazy drift. And it's
which might be possible tomorrow's week. Rosin, please do not drop the ball here, much like your teammate did just a second ago. The nade doesn't get the finish, but so does Damar. He unfortunately pulls his gun back just in the nick of time to allow Lorazin to successfully get that E-limb without any drama, doesn't take any damage. Even though Influence Rage loses one, still relatively okay, but they've got Gamex, they've got Power, and they still have E-Arena who are surrounding them.
It is difficult on that northern side. It is getting really quite tense here, and Alpha 7, of course, have to move on this circle. They have to push further south. Teams have started to find their locations around the edge of Quarry. Kinotrope have maintained that split, that 3-1 as it stands. That on the lip of Quarry gives you a load of sightlines under your control. E-Arena taking shots across the way from Hora on the western side, who are being a little bit slow on that rotate down south. But I feel like that doesn't really fully characterize it. They are maintaining strength and covering their back flank by doing so, by taking a slower rotation. So good news from them. Unfortunately for Noxian Red Force, it is not such good news on their side, as they will be losing a lot of players to Yangon Galacticos, who continue to make things work on the southeast.
Yeah, that's the team you don't want taking you out. With the hovercraft, they're going to have a powerful end-game, at least potential anyways. Yangon Galacticus being right there neck and neck with Noxian Red Force, that's the last team you want getting points, especially taking your roster down. That puts them closer to knocking Noxian Red Force to 8th place, being right there on the bubble, putting the pressure even more so on them. Power, Alahi's going to be on the outside. He unfortunately takes a lot of damage, eventually will fall. Lorazin back on your screen, but unfortunately not for long.
Power looking to try and keep the pressure up on the northern side. Influence Rage starting to drag their feet a little bit. Alpha 7 as well, poking their noses in. The Revo has flexed out. Remember, they're playing as 3 on the northern edge. Yet to have an impact here. Carrillo gets spotted over on that north side as well. As Diego tries to push out of the blue zone. They've got Medan waiting in the way, in the wings, but the blue zone has too much pressure on them. Sure, they get the knock, but it's traded off, and Power still have a little bit more to do. Unfortunately, Lil Boy pushes them back off the angle and makes their life a little bit harder.
And R8 is also firing some shots at Alpha 7 as they're on the rotate. They've got to be careful. They've had such a hard time rotating in, even with the vehicles. They're only down to 2 members. Lil Boy pushing up. Power going for the revive. And Lil Boy is a talented member. He doesn't lose these fights. This 1v2 could very well go his way. Easy. Doesn't have time to pop the med kit. Ragnar takes him down, and like you said, huge. Power wins a successful engagement. They're already top 3, and now they got 2 members to work with. But from one struggle to another, Alpha 7 are pinned down.
This is the last player alive now. It's Shastrevo, and they're on the lip of that quarry position out to the west, and they go down again. A 1-point game, 2 games in a row. It is looking dire now with 4 matches left to play. They're going to need to earn at least 15 points every single match from this point onwards to be in with a chance of qualifying in 8th place. This is a team that people were talking about with a chance to win the whole thing.
And you have to look at how it started for them, right? Landing at their default location, okay, great, but then they do not get blessed by zone. They take the long rotate up north, which isn't uncharacteristic from what they were doing during the Americas. But you had that solo who just randomly goes off on his own. He gets picked apart. Now Alpha 7 is down to 3. Then you have another player who starts to rotate out, scan the horizons, he gets taken down, and then all of a sudden now you're getting pinned up by 4 stacks and you just get taken out. I mean, Alpha 7, continually, something is going wrong. I'm super worried for them. I'm ringing the alarm bells. I think they are sincerely in trouble. But there's plenty of rosters still remaining who are not only on the bubble but also trying to maintain their position in top 8. Love where AXTMG are currently at. Infinite line of sights, a power spot to be in, and luckily for them there's no one around them, but everybody is in front of them so they can continue to pepper anybody that they see.
Falcons, they managed to send through to the southwest side at the cost of one of their players, and now they're under pressure as now Valo gets found out in the open, unaware of the team right next door to them, and will just lose another. So 2 players survive for the Falcons, playing on with Redox and Koa. They lost Ralph early on. Now Valo next to follow them, and for Hoda on that southwestern side, they're going to have to try and play on out. They have 5 points already. They are the next team right on the doorstep of getting up to that 70-point boundary. They just need 1 placement or 1 more elim, as well as Power up on 8 elims, 2 points behind that boundary on 70 points.
Power only a solo though. It's going to be easy. Opposite of Kinotrope, who's just up to his north, I should say. In the moment, Falcons, Hora, most likely going to run into each other again. As Koa and Redox keeping them in their line of sights. IG most likely going to have an effect at least later on for Falcons, depending on how Hora ends up deciding to push up. Smokes are out. Hora might be making a rotate already, but the important thing, where do we shift the zone? Well, that's great for E-Arena as well as Kinotrope, who are dead center. Kinotrope desperately needing points to elevate themselves up toward top 8. Final needs to join in and do it unscathed. If he can do so, Kinotrope might very well have a deep run in top 3.
They've got a lot of cover over towards Kinotrope's outpost. I was looking at that position, and if he didn't move immediately, I was going to call him out. He needed to regroup here. Binny, okay, on the inside for a 2-piece with a pump action around the shack, but there's more to do. He's got a protective barrier around him, though, because he takes down... Wait, was that Binny as well?
That was Vinny as well.
Oh my goodness me.
Yes.
This guy wants to be the best.
With that, I told you, man. I talked to him. He says, I want to be the best. I want to submit my name.
Like no one ever was.
Mobile history. Regnum Karya starting to move up on Hora. Big fight. Toshpik down. No fear. Firing shot, but can't connect enough. Another from Regnum Karya will fall, and it might be a clean sweep from Hora's perspective if they can get Sleepy and No Fear back up. But no worries. Sky continues to fight tooth and nail. Regnum Karya still having life. If Sky can't pull off the hat trick, Hora, they're out.
Intense game as well on the northern side. Could potentially move in and third party this. A flush over towards Sleepy, leaves Sky as a solo. He's disengaging, sending south. There's a solar outpost in Yangon Galacticos for Romeo. You can see he's off in the hovercraft on the top of the hill here. Staying safe, staying calm for now. Just seeing what's going on. It looks like intense game. Fall back away, and maybe the fight peters out, but I think Sky might just be done for here. Romeo, though, starts to light it up on the hillside.
Regnum Karya, astounding that they're even alive. 3 members up and in the fight, but you mentioned Romeo, who now has perfect line of sights on everyone from Regnum Karya just in front of them. And you also got IG starting to come behind him. Loxy through the smoke, however, dodges him miraculously, and he has an attempt. He's going for it, but Petrino shuts him down.
Will not be able to sidestep and find the follow through there for Regnum Karya. They'll play on as one, and I was waiting for intense game to get involved. I thought maybe they were going to send out towards the east east, but no, the hillsides are just right to be swept on through. And now, with just one player left from Hora, they might turn their attention towards Yangon Galacticos' position further south, but it is all a question of who can get close to Kinotrope.
And also for Sky, what he can do as a solo. Behind that of IG, he hasn't been spotted. But luckily for IG, they've got, oh no, they're parking the bus, which means Sky, he could have a devastating effect. Here's Benny with the 3, takes down 2, and well, Marth comes out of nowhere, and Benny says, hey, where you going, buddy? And mows him straight down.
I was 100% sure that was an off-angle chiming in on that fight. I thought there's no way, right?
Like, I think shots were coming in, and he finished them off.
He's got to chill out a little bit, but no. He was like 1, 2, 3. He only needed those 3 shells, and he racked up 3 points. That was really impressive from Binny to be able to connect those shots, especially on the moving buggy, under pressure from the high ground as well, out in the shack. And it's rightly so that they're up in now 5th place with those 4 points under their belt, and maybe more to come. However, for Vision, they've got a choice to make, and it may be that they send for the shack that Binny sits inside of.
See where the shift is. Honestly, if I'm Sky at the moment, I'm just full sending an IG. Like, I'm trying to do as much damage as possible. And the only reason why is Hora is a bit different, being in 2nd place, already at 70 points. Sky can afford to do this, and I believe they rotate by him, and Sky does manage to fight it out, and he's firing shots. He's connecting a bit. Petrino fell. However, IG managed to recover, and they'll still be a 3-man unit to push deeper into the zone. For Romeo on the hovercraft, he's still scouting the surroundings, seeing what's out there. That hovercraft, maintaining it, so valuable for the end. But with the zone ship, Kinotrope once again still in a powerful spot. My eyes once again fall to them. A big game here would elevate them up the standings. They're at 22 points. Breaking in the top 8 is very doable, and they can honestly get very close with a win in Game 2.
Really good information gathering there from Vision. They saw Intense Game leaving from that location, which opens up the position now that Marcelo and Nawaf have moved into. Before Intense Game and all the teams on the western side move, you cannot play the western side of the quarry like this, but as soon as they see that maneuver happen, they are in there. And that is a really smart rotation coming through from Vision. I like to see it. We'll see if they can go further.
Romeo taking a little bit of damage. Rafa also shooting the hovercraft to get it relatively low in health. I thought it was on fire, but I can't fully tell from that angle. Adrian with the off angle. Renat, though, sees it. Ready to take him out. If he sows Desire, unless he didn't see it, it goes right straight into Adrian, who takes over a little bit of the high ground that he possibly can, and the push is in. Adrian nade out. Rafa has also joined, and we have a tense game. Absolutely, they're fully committing to the Yangon Galacticos fight, and that nade looks good.
Just about dodging the damage around the cliff. On the edge there, the rocks protect him for the time being. Adrian is low now, though. More nades getting sent back and forth. That is just a tickle, but across the way, Fireflux can really start to get involved now. They just need to step a little bit closer, and they have full sight lines on towards Yangon Galacticos. You can see Solus wants to get a little bit more done, but across the way, you've got Kinotrope to worry about. This open ground around Kinotrope is just so deadly, and no team has really been able to do too much about it. May have just been handed to Kinotrope on these circle shifts.
Well, the hovercraft has been blown up, and Romeo can still use this coverage, and he's putting in great work, peppering the members of IG just up ahead. No one's going to be able to penetrate it. No one's going to be able fight tooth and nail at every point on their rotation. But honestly, not a bad thing. They haven't been wiped yet. They're also on the bubble. This is great for them. If they can pull off team wipe after team wipe, those are valuable points to continue their way up in the top 8. But I am a little bit worried where Adrian is currently at. Now he's got a great line of sight on the Yangon Galacticos, who's going to be just ahead of him. Meanwhile, Benny also up ahead. I can't wait to see what he's going to be able to do as a solo. But for Vision, desperately trying to get it off angle, maybe a knock onto Kinotrope. They want that high ground. They want that location because they understand how important it's going to be.
Kinotrope, again, just been decimating these teams around them. Unfortunately, they haven't earned too many points for it. So this is the question that you have to ask towards Kinotrope. What sort of value can they extract from this location? Because they have been nigh on unassailable in this spot for so long. But with 25 minutes on the clock, those remaining player counts are going to start to drop.
Yeah, I think they're going to about to pick up at least 4 or 5, depending on what Marcelo does from Team Vision. They've been slowly making their way up. That drop on Tamra is going to hurt, however. And you mentioned the value. I thought they were going to pick up plenty of elims, but now they're getting picked apart. And you also have E-Arena, who might choose to dip their toe in this fight as well for the third party. But you also got Yangon Galacticus desperately trying to move forward, and Team Vision focused fully on them. Where's the buggy going, though? That was a bit of a risky play. Yangon Galactica have been mowing players out of buggies, out of vehicles, but luckily reposition ends up paying off.
They are going to keep things together. I feel like Team Vision have been playing this one really well. They held that push from behind against AXTMG. They open up with a pick towards Kinotrope, which does take them out of the power play quite a little bit. Finally, Binny does go down. He did do a lot of damage, though, during that match. Ladder's up to 7th place, and a credit to him. Credit to his team as well. This is the last player from Intense Game who's managed to sneak their way in. It's on to Team Vision, really, to make a move here, and onto Yangon Galacticos as well. But they're staring each other down across this valley.
Yangon Galacticos are pinned up. I don't foresee them getting out of this spot. Whether it's the last remaining member of IG with Adrian, maybe Fireflux off to the left. You got Vision firing shots onto him. Kinotrope are also throwing their hat in the ring. It would be a miracle if Smile and Renat can move up, but that's going to be a great knock, but it's only going to do at least so much. As remaining members should be finished. Great for Plur, but Plur falls. And Vision, where do they go? Do they want to continue to pin Yangon Galacticus or move up? Well, they're moving up. They want to capitalize off the knock and the full finish.
They can do both as well if they could do that fast enough, which they do. They're able to find that. Adrian down the hill. They know that Yangon Galacticos are very unlikely to poke their heads in now. With just one player remaining, it's too much of risk. The nade downhill, he hops in the buggy, but it's actually the backlines there coming on through. No, hang on a minute. It was the spray down onto the player hopping in there, and they will find the last player. Fireflux flexing out. It feels like this should be another Fireflux win as they start to extend their control from the eastern side. E-Arena trying to push up from Quarry, but you could see what Scarface could do to them. There is very few worlds in which they successfully make their way up to the top of this.
Oh, but that nade hurt a little bit. I don't know, maybe a couple more of those. You take Scarface out, that opens up the door to continue your progression up the hill. But I don't think so. Madcap also looking down. Fireflux, it's such a great spot, but I mean, let's not kid ourselves. This area is so highly contested, and Nawaf, he's pushing up along with Alone, and this is going to be a great angle onto the Fireflux team as they start to take damage. You still got Joker also from E-Arena pushing up. This is going to be a mad dash for control on the top of the hill, and you got 3 rosters all butting heads.
Kinotrope are starting to fade here now. Last player for them to stand. Vision's playing on us 2. E-Arena is 3 who have been trying to fight their way in here. Scarface gets rezzed for Fireflux. That is going to be really, really important. However, in order to get that res, they've had to move Solars all the way to the back of their hold. They've lost a bit of pressure, and teams from the western side can start to move. And that's what's given E-Arena this momentum, this ability to get as close as they have. Mormon now with an opportunity, maybe to mantle here, but he pops that Molotov up on high, and they aren't quite going to find it just yet. In the meantime, Yangon Galacticos lose their last.
Oh, they see him. I think they're wanting to go for the challenge onto Mormon.